expectation management has been massively sort of downplayed. Although the world is focused on Alaska, the White House are madly trying to lower expectations.
So let's begin by talking about the summit in Alaska, the hastily arranged summit in Alaska. Jack, realistically, and I understand that Donald Trump has been trying to kind of, rein in people's expectations. What do you think can be achieved today in Alaska, Jack?
Well, I think it's important that they are meeting. I think it's a huge test for President Trump. This is a day when a lot of people will make a judgment about whether he is serious about making America great again or making America weak. And if there is a continuation of discussion afterwards that is not a capitulation to Putin and the Russian regime, then that can only be a good thing. But it's critical that we remember that Russia was the aggressor, that there are tens of thousands of Ukrainian kids who've been stolen and are still behind Russian borders being Russified, that there are thousands and thousands of Ukrainians who have lost their lives defending democracy in Europe from this aggression, and that we therefore need to stand strong with them. And if we need a lesson about history, today is VJ Day, and I chair the annual UK-Japan Diplomatic Business Conference, and I know only too well the history of that conflict, the horror that was inflicted on people from all over the world, particularly those who lived in Southeast Asia, but the critical importance of peace, because the relationship between Japan and the rest of the world since the 70s or the 80s has led to incredible results of cultural exchange, economic growth, and peace. So we need to learn those lessons of history and stand strong against the aggressor, and then hopefully have a chance to build some peace that benefits everybody.
Kate?
So I think a danger is that we reward an aggressor, and Putin, by even turning up in Alaska, is winning in one level by just being there, coming out of the cold. So that is a concern. Trump has an eye on a peace prize. He wants to make peace. That's good. We want to see peace. It's interesting that the expectation management has been massively sort of downplayed. Although the world is focused on Alaska, the White House are madly trying to lower expectations. So we're more likely to see this as the first of a couple of meetings. But look, Jack makes very important points. First of all, look, Russia started this war, and the horror of it has been awful for us all to see. We have the sovereignty of Ukraine at stake. We have the point Jack just made about rewarding an aggressor. That cannot happen. And then we have the wider security issue about Europe as well. All in the hands of Putin and Trump, without any Europeans there, without Zelensky there. So it's a day of high risk. I really hope it begins something positive. And, let's hope that there will be a follow-on meeting and possibly even a ceasefire, because there's got to be something coming out of this meeting. Otherwise, Trump is going to look a bit foolish going home. So, yeah, all eyes on Alaska today.
Jack, when we're talking about, what it looks like, the rewarding of Trump, what is it potentially going to look like this afternoon if Trump and Putin stand next to each other and do a joint press conference after their meeting? It's something that the Kremlin was saying was going to happen. Trump has said, well, it might not. But I mean, what is that going to look like on TV screens around the world? That is the reward, isn't it?
I think it all depends on what Trump says and the nature of his demeanour. He's a very, very unusual big power leader in our times. There's never been anybody like him. Certainly never been anybody like him sober. And he will, he could stand shoulder to shoulder with Putin and look like they are the best of friends, or he could say things in a public press event that are difficult for Putin. And I genuinely hope he chooses. He could choose either. I mean, he is that kind of character. He could say, "This guy's a great guy. I'm glad he's here. We can do business," or which is kind of what he said the last time. Or he could say, "Look, I'm disappointed with this meeting. I keep meeting this guy, and we stand here and we smile together, but actually he's still killing people in Ukraine." I genuinely hope that he chooses the difficult path. It's not going to be an easy one, but somebody needs to call Putin to account and make him realise that dragging this out, keeping this going, is not going to benefit him in the longer term. And if Trump turns on him, it's the one single thing that might bring a fast end to the current level of aggression that we see even this week. It was incredible yesterday seeing the Times international editor in Kiev, doing interviews yesterday at the same time as the air raid sirens were going off, and there were yet more Russian bombs dropping on the city. It's this is an ongoing, very, very violent conflict, and if all eyes are on Trump today. We know exactly how Putin will behave. Let's see how Trump behaves. Is he going to be friendly? Is he going to gloss over everything, or is he going to say, enough is enough? I am here to tell some hard truths.
Kate, Russia's clearly been brought in from the cold by Trump. They were a pariah. Putin was a pariah for so long. Do you think the UK will be forced to change its position towards Russia if Trump does, in order to bring some kind of peace?
So look, at the moment, I think the UK and the rest of Europe are trying to play this very carefully. They're trying to keep on the good side of Trump because they can't afford not to be able to have his ear. And it's very important. Just look at the change that we have seen already from Trump, from that terrible meeting in the White House with Zelensky to a more affable and more open relationship with Zelensky and a more critical relationship with Russia. So I think you are seeing some, wins, if you like, from the Prime Minister, but also from the other European leaders. So it's very important that they sort of still talk to Trump. Look, it's a very difficult question in relation to Putin, and I think that Europe and also our own Prime Minister, they will just have to play this very cool. They don't want to jump in and make friends with Putin again. The danger is that Putin takes a win now, gets a bit more of territory, adds that to Crimea, goes back home, fixes, gets a bit better economy, grows the army, and goes back and takes a bit more. So I think they have to deal with Putin very, very carefully indeed, and be under no sort of idea that he's a changed man at all.
Jack, do you think the UK will have to change its position towards Russia, or potentially will?
I think it's critically important that the UK retains an independence of stance here, but also works hard to be the bridge between, or at least one of the bridges between, the coalition of the willing and the United States. I think the way in which different members, the UK and others in the coalition of the willing, have worked very hard, and President Zelensky has worked very hard to bring Trump back from the brink a few months ago. I think that has been of real significance. And I think that maintenance of an international coalition, not just involving Europe, but involving Japan, Australia and others, against the Russian aggression and for the sovereignty of Ukraine, I think that is critical, and that is a counterbalance to those who will advise Trump to walk away.